Today I'm reviewing the Alienware M15 R7. And there is a specific reason I chose this specific model, and we'll get to that in a minute. The specific unit that I picked out, it has an i9 12th gen, an RTX 3070 Ti, 32 gigabytes of RAM. I did pick the option with mechanical keyboard, and it is has a 1440p display with a 240 hertz refresh rate and G-Sync compatible. I did want to point out the reason I went with this M15 as opposed to the newer models, the X15 or the X17 or perhaps the larger M17, is surprisingly enough, at least on the date that this is recorded, there is no option on Dell's website to spec out any computer with a 1440p display except for the M15. The X series and the M17 only offer 1080 or 4K. They do not offer 1440, and that's really a deal breaker for me. It was important for me to have that 1440p display. The other thing I wanted to point out to any that may be considering ordering a computer from Dell, a laptop from Dell, is while you do get that benefit of speccing out exactly what you want, configuring what you want in that laptop, you better make sure you're patient. It's going to take like 3 weeks. You know, you can get on Amazon and purchase a pre-configured gaming laptop, and you can get it the next day or 2 days from then. This is going to take 3 or so weeks. That's what it took for mine, and it seems like that's what's normal. The other thing is my initial impression was pretty negative when I received my package in the mail. So the Alienware box that had the laptop in it, the packaging it was in was basically a glorified paper bag. It had the shape of a box, but it was really more of a paper material, and the top was ripped open. It was not sealed closed. And on top of that, the Alienware laptop box inside of that was also not sealed. So, I mean, I know this didn't happen, but I mean, technically, maybe this took so long to ship because the guys at FedEx took it out and played some games on it for a week. I don't know, but it wasn't sealed at all. Nothing was sealed. So, for a $2,500 laptop, that seemed a little ridiculous to me. Really, any product you order online, I think is only professional and normal and really what should be expected for your products to come sealed. So that aside, my concerns quickly vanished. I pulled out the laptop and it was in good condition. It didn't look like anybody messed with it, so that was good. And the first thing I noticed is the matte finish on the laptop. It's got a beautiful matte finish, and it feels nice to the touch, and it does a great job at not picking up prints. Excuse me. And that was huge for me. I cannot stand fingerprints on anything. I hate it. It drives me crazy. A lot of these laptops out there, I mean, you touch them and there's just immediately there's fingerprints. So this was huge for me. It does feel like it's built quite well. Has a strong hinge, easy to open up with one hand. There's not a lot of flex. And one of the first things I tried as soon as I got it, it was a feature that I was very excited to try out, and that's the mechanical keyboard built into the laptop. Let me say it is the best keyboard built into a laptop that I have experienced. It is quite different than what I'm used to. I usually use an external keyboard that currently it's a Razer Huntsman Mini with the optical linear switches, red switches, so it's quiet. It actuates through laser, not through an actual mechanical switch. So it is much different than a keyboard that I'm used to. But I mean, fantastic. I've never typed on another laptop keyboard and been nearly that satisfied. Very springy, in a good way. There is definitely a bad springy. I don't think that's a bad springy. It really pulls in your press and pops it back up. Great, I think, for gaming. For typing, I don't know. I did notice a few extra typos than what I would typically have. The first day I used it, I did kind of get over that, but really just phenomenal keyboard. Um, and that was a huge part for me. I wanted a decent keyboard. I don't want to use some membrane keyboard if I'm out about and I don't have my external keyboard. As far as battery life, weight, and mobility, that's where this laptop suffers the most. If you want a high-end gaming laptop that does better in those areas, I would perhaps look at maybe the Razer Blades. I think those are better in those areas and offer you a better package. However, if gaming performance is king for you, and you're purchasing this as like a desktop replacement, which is what I was doing. A desktop replacement that could also be, mobile, then I do think this is actually the best option, or one of the best options out there. As far as like the fan noise, it's fair. It's not crazy loud. It's not screaming like some other gaming laptops I've had, but it's not quiet. It's pretty average. It's pretty fair. But the performance pulling from this laptop seems to outperform, in my experience, everything that I've seen, tested, and owned with similar specs. So in my experience, it outperforms other gaming laptops with the same specs inside. Assuming that it's because it has higher wattage. I did look up the wattage. I think it was like 140 for the wattage to the CPU. I don't know for sure. I can't remember for sure. Or 170. No, I think the video said 170. But I do not know a lot what the wattage was to a lot of those other laptops I've used. So I can't tell you if that's what it is. But I can tell you the performance is better for the ones that I've tried. The cooling is fantastic. Yeah, you do have some fan noise. It's pretty average, but at no point after hours and hours of gaming on multiple different games, the keyboard was never very hot. In fact, it was pretty. It was fine. It wasn't hot at all. Even above the keyboard, which is where most of the heat was, they did a good job keeping it off the keys. That wasn't that hot either. And I never noticed, performance kind of chugging like it was dropping or having an issue. I feel like the cooling in this laptop is just absolutely fantastic. And it's probably part of the reason why you're losing some of that mobility is a thick laptop. Another huge win for this laptop is the display, the screen. The panel I picked once again is a 1440p display with a 240 hertz panel with G-Sync, and it is a beauty to look at and has absolutely fantastic viewing angles. I mean, it's a fantastic display. The ports are pretty decent on this as well. I love that several of the ports are placed on the back of the computer as opposed to the side, so you're not having a bunch of cords hanging off when you're using it at your desk like a desktop. The only complaint, and the reason I say they're decent as opposed to great, is it is missing an SD card reader. So I don't know if it's a big deal to you. Personally, I use one, so I have to use an adapter, so that's a little disappointing. Other than that, it's fantastic. As far as the ports it does have, it has two 5 gigabyte per second USB-A 3.2 ports, one with PowerShare. It has a Thunderbolt 4 port, another Type A 3.2 USB port, has an HDMI 2.1 port, an Ethernet jack port, and a headphone jack, and of course, obviously the power port. As far as gaming performance and video editing, this computer handles both of them like a beast. I mean, it's fantastic performance all around. No complaints. The RGB is nice. It has per key RGB. The Alienware Command Center that you use to change the settings for either overclocking and the RGB, it's okay. It's not the best. It's not the worst. It is what it is. A lot of these companies that release their own software, it has some hiccups, but it's not bad. So really the question is, and maybe you're asking, or why you came to this video, is should you buy this gaming laptop? Should you buy the Alienware as opposed to all the different options on the market? Well, it's certainly not the cheapest. There are a lot cheaper options with similar specs out on the market. But it is also not the most expensive. In fact, I mentioned the Razer Blade earlier. Those seem to run $500 to $600 more with a similarly spec'd out laptop than these Alienwares. So it's kind of, it's definitely not the most expensive laptop. It's also definitely not the cheapest. Personally, I think if you have the cash and this is going to be your main gaming machine and that is the primary purpose for buying it, that I do think it is worth it. The performance is just fantastic, a fantastic display, best built-in keyboard that I've used, great port options, and really in my experience it's been the best performance I've found in a gaming laptop, and it does not burn your fingers off while it's doing it. That I think is worth every bit of the $2,400 price tag, which is what the unit that I have with the specs I chose, what that costs. So what do you think? What is your gaming laptop of choice and why? Let me know in the comments section below. I will make sure to respond to any comments in the next 48 hours. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to be notified of the next video. Here is the sound test for the keyboard, and enjoy the rest of your day.